Hi everyone, it's Eileen from Now There's a Crafty Idea and welcome to Tag Tuesday. So I'm working on a sewing journal at the minute, so I wanted to do a sewing tag. So I've just thrown this one together and I thought I'll just show you how I did it. And it's not too elaborate, but it's the way I use the paper, and that is it's something different. So let's get started. So I've used this scrapbook paper. It's kind of like a natural card, and it's got this lovely pattern on. It's just not my style, but I do like the black pattern against the brown paper, and I want that kind of slightly showing in the background. So what I've done is I've used, let's get some of this pattern paper. This is a nice vintage one. I've used the pattern paper to go over. Now I've used some plainer pieces, but as you can see, some of them have actually got the writing on, and I want them on as well, because on this one I've used them for the background. You can see where I've got the instructions peeking through, which I kind of like, and it goes with the theme. So let's just get started. Now it's easier on this one if I just glue the tag, so let's do that, and then we can just start to lay some of that paper on there. And this paper's lovely, and I've got 2 books of it. I think I got it from The Works, and I love the idea of it being like a natural card with a pattern on it. And some of the patterns were absolutely gorgeous. Some of them were just, I suppose for other craft projects would be great, but they're a little bit too big for me. So let's just get some of this down, and I'm not going to be precious about how I'm putting it. I just want to cover the whole pattern first, the whole tag first. So let's just get this where it's gone over. That didn't work very well. There we go, that's better. And it doesn't matter that I'm getting glue everywhere, because this is only one layer that I'm going to put down. The first layer, I just want it to be like the plain pattern paper. So that's going to work fine. Let's just make sure this glue's still working. And there we go. Just get that down. And it doesn't matter about those tiny little corners peeking out, because like I say, this is only the first layer. So I'm just going to give it, let's give it a good press down, because I want it to soak up that glue. There we are. Great. Now the next layer, I want to use the pieces that have writing on. So I'm just going to get rid of that bit, and then I'm just going to get this bit, and I want that going that way. Great. So again, I'm not going to, because I'm still not finished, so don't worry about the glue. So there we go, and that will hopefully show through. I like that, that's nice. Yeah. And you can see the pattern underneath is still sort of shining through. Let's find another piece that has writing on. Finished garment. Okay, that sounds good. And I want to pop that up the top. Okay. So lots and lots of glue, because we're doing lots of layers here. So we want to make sure it's all going to stick. And it doesn't have to be straight. In fact, the more skew if it is, the better it's going to look on the finished tag. And then on top of that, I wanted to put some of these bits that I've cut off. Now the packets that I got these from, I'll start again. The packets from the patterns are all pretty beat up, but instead of throwing them away, I'm going to use them, and I'm going to stick them onto here. So this is a piece I've already cut out. So now this is where we need to be a bit more precious with our glue. Let's just move this. There we go. And I'm quickly going to trim round this just so I can see where I'm working with, because I want to be able to see where the ends are. I can give it another trim afterwards, that's no problem if we need to. I just want to make sure that I know where me lines are, so when I put the other pieces on it makes sense instead of being half on and half off, if you know what I mean. Right, there we are. Let's get all these little bits out of the way, and a new glue page. Right, now you're determined to stick to us, aren't you? Right, let's just get, that's all curled up at the end. There we go, that's better. Like I say, these patterns are great, especially if you're doing a sewing themed journal, because there's just so much ephemera on them. There's so much that you can take off. Do I want that a little bit kind of start it there and let it come up, or do I, no, we'll put it that way, that's it. And then I want this picture here, but you can see it's torn a bit, so I'm going to be really careful when I'm gluing it, because once I've glued I shall try putting my teeth back in and starting again. Once I've glued the tear, it should be fine. And as you can see, like I said, these are pretty beat up patterns. I mean, they've been through the mill. A lot of them I've collected myself over the years, but I also got a ton off my husband's auntie, who used to sew all the time, and she made some beautiful clothes, and obviously she collected them for years and years. See, if I put that one on the bottom there and just have it kind of angled in a little bit, I quite like that. So let's get some glue on here, being careful of that tear because I don't want to make it worse. And this is a great way to heal if you've got torn paper. This is a great way to use it to heal the tears so that it's still usable, because otherwise you would end up throwing it away, and that's such a shame, because the tear is part of its story. Oh, I like that, that's quite nice, yes, very nice. I tell you what I didn't do, and I'm just going to quickly go around the edge now. I haven't distressed these, but that's easily done. And again, these are still in the background, so I'm not that bothered. Just a little bit, there we are. And then what I want is possibly another piece of this to go over the top, because that'll just take it further into the background, and then it just becomes part of the collage. Yeah, I quite like that. So I'm going to use a plain piece, and what I'm going to do is just going to cut off this edge so I don't have that thick black edge going through the other piece. Yeah, I like that. Right, now I'm going to glue onto this, so you've got to be very careful. This is very old and very vintage tissue paper, so you've just got to take your time and don't be rough at all. You can do it, it just it's just time consuming. Now very carefully peel that off, and then we'll pop this kind of there. I do like that stitch line. There we go. Let's just get this. I don't want to tear it with my hands. Which I have done there. That's okay. It's all part of it. All part of the pattern. And that just takes that further into the background, so it gives it a little bit more of a vintage look. Now on this piece we can put another piece over. And again, I do like that stitch line, but I don't know whether, no, do you know what, I'm going to leave that the way it is. I like that the way it is. It's kind of half behind and half in front. So let's trim again, get rid of the bits that we don't want. And then there we go. Right. Okay, there we are. That's great. Now, what I was going to do, I've got some of these, so I've found one of these, and I did use that across the bottom of that, and I quite like that. And on this one, this lady, when I cut her out, she had no legs, because the pattern was too badly torn. I couldn't save her legs, so I've just popped her behind that. But the next one, which I'm going to use, which I've got somewhere and I can't find her now because I've got that much stuff. Where is she? Here she is. She's got no legs either, but I kind of don't mind that, so I don't think I'm going to put her behind. I think I'm just going to put her over the top, and she'll still look good. So let's just get this. I like that kind of angle, and I'm not losing too much by doing it like that. So what we'll do is just do the top and bottom. There we go, because I do want that to be done. And then let's see, where do we want it? Do we like that? We do. Okay, so I'm going to just hold this and cut it. You could put a clip on here, like a paper clip, to keep it steady, but you know me, I'm not one for doing things a simple way. There we go. And I'm going to keep that little bit. It might only be a tiny little bit, but that'll come in handy when we're making something. So let's get these edges, and then we can get this piece on. I'm going to use my tacky glue, because this is what I've done to save the patterns, because they're in such a bad state. I've actually glued them onto some pattern paper on the back, but this is like a paper, not tissue pattern, it's a paper pattern. And it's just sturdied them up a bit, but it's made them thicker, so they do need the tacky glue. We'll get that on. I don't want it too low, but I don't want it too high either. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to, you could make this into a little tuck spot, you know, and then you could, but I'm going to put my lady over the top, so I can't have it really as a tuck spot. But if you were going to put something a bit smaller on for your focal point, then yeah, you could use it as a tuck spot. That would be quite good. Right, let's give her some age. She's gorgeous, isn't she? So elegant. I love these old designs, these old aesthetics. They're just so elegant and speak of a different world of cocktail parties and, oh yeah, such a nice idea. I guess it wasn't really like that, to be honest. I'm just going to take some of that white away. There we go. Yeah, she looks nice and vintage without being too vintage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stick her on with some of the tacky glue. So let's get the tacky glue. Yeah, these patterns are fantastic. So a lot of them are really old vintage ones, which means that they're very, 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 very delicate, which is why I've backed them before I even attempted to cut them out, because they're just literally falling apart in my hands. And I wanted to save as much of them as possible, so I literally just backed the pattern, the whole thing, the packet. Right, let's place her there. Oh yeah, she looks nice there. Now I've made this tag bigger than the other tag, simply because she's a bigger image than the others. If you notice, these ones are quite a small image, so the tag's quite a bit bigger, because she would have just looked too big on there. So this is, I've scaled it up simply for her image. It'll still fit the journal, and it'll be loads of lovely journaling space on the back. Right, now, the last thing I did, well, the last thing I stuck on was these buttons. But I want to sew around her first, because it's difficult to sew around with the buttons on, which is something that I discovered when I sewed around this one. I'm just going to do a straight stitch, and as you can see, I've just wiggled about with it to give it that messy stitch look. So I'll quickly do that. I know I don't normally sew on camera, but I'm going to quickly zizz round it. So turn your volume down and give me a minute. It won't. Oh, do you know what I forgot? Before I do anything else, I wanted to put a little bit of a tab on, and I wanted to use this vintage ribbon. I mean, I've sold loads of this in my shop, and I've still got a little bit left for myself, so I want to use it because it is gorgeous, and it'll go with the overall green theme. Does that go, or do we need something a bit more? I don't know, because she's got such a red dress on. What else do we have? Let's just see what else we've got. We've got that. That's not vintage, it's new. Do you know I've got this problem with new things? Oh, I tell you what we could use. No, lace wouldn't go with that. It's just not the right aesthetic. Right, we've got this. That's the same as I used on the other one. It's just a really wide rickrack that I got at a local craft shop. Okay, I like that because the red in it goes and it's still got the green in it. Right, we've got our tab. Okie dokie. You're not going to be able to see how I'm sewing this, so I'm just going to show you when I'm done. So turn your volume down, folks. So I just went round it twice and I forgot to put the tab on, didn't I? Ay. Let's get that tab stuck on. It'll take 2 seconds just to give it a quick zizz. It's just as well that junk journaling is a perfection, because honestly, one thing I am not is not perfection. There we go, that's fine. There we go. Right, let's get our scissors and trim some of these threads off. Again, this is a personal thing. If you like having threads hanging about, which I know a lot of people do, keep your threads on. It's just not me. So we'll just snip, 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 snip. There we go. Is that everything? I think so. I do like that green on there because the red in the green matches in with that lovely dress. I like that. It's coming together. It's nice. I like it. It's curled a little bit, but that's fine because it'll flatten down in the book. Right, now let's get these buttons on. Now I think on the other one I did 3 buttons, but this is a bit bigger, so I'm going to do 4 buttons on this. All I've done is I've just took some embroidery floss, pulled it through and tied a knot, and then cut the ends so that it just gives it that little bit of thread. So let's just put these up here. I'm just going to use my tacky glue. I'll just leave it a little bit longer, and then it'll hopefully it'll set and keep everything where it needs to be. So try not to get too much on. I don't want it leaking out. Oh, I'm getting all sticky now. There we go, that one's leaked out just a bit. Let's just, there we go, last one. And these again, these are reclaimed buttons. Should I put it at the top of the button? I think I'll put it down here actually. They're reclaimed buttons off an old outfit, and they're actually shell buttons. They're made out of the mother of pearl inside the shell. Quite vintage, but they're very pretty and I like them. And I just think that it gives it a little tiny bit of bling without it being too bling. So there we go. So I think, apart from giving it a bit of a distress, I think that's about it. So let's just should have distressed it before I put the top on. Not to worry, we can still do it. And then that's that one done, I think. I'll do the back as well, because you need it distressed. I love the pattern that the messy stitching makes on the back as well. It just gives it a little bit extra focal point and gives it a bit more interest. There we go. Okay. So I'm happy with that. That's another one done. With this one, the tab top, I just left it because I like the little frayed a bit at the top, but this one I have folded it over, but I think it just looks good. So that's them ones. So get your old sewing patterns out, see what you've got, and give it a go, because they give you a fantastic background, especially if you're doing something with a sewing journal, and you never know what little treasures lie inside. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and that's our third, I think, is it the third Tag Tuesday? So come back for more. Please do drop a like on the video, it really helps the channel, and do subscribe if you're not subscribed. We're trying to get to 450, because when I get to 450 I'm going to start making a Ladybird junk journal, which is going to be my 500 subscriber giveaway. So please subscribe, please drop a like. I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, stay safe, and happy crafting. Bye.